Okay, so I have a few updates to talk about in this video. The first of which is pretty exciting. There was a near-Earth object discovered a few days ago using the Tycho software. So it's always pretty cool to see that when someone is using the software and they make a discovery. And so I'll talk a little bit about that. And then the next item is we have a new version, 7.2 of the software. So to get started, the discovery was that of 2020 UN6. This is in fact the first NEO to be discovered by station W94, and it took place on October 27, so just a few days ago. And again, they used the Tycho software to make the discovery. They used synthetic tracking, and this was moving at 10.8 arc seconds per minute at the time of discovery. And then this also marks the fourth near-Earth object to be discovered this year using the Tycho software. So as you can see here, station W94 is currently operating with two 11-inch or 28-centimeter RASA telescopes. Each telescope is outfitted with a 60-megapixel camera, and this combination provides for a very nice wide field of view. Okay, so in June of this year, station W16 made the very first discovery of a near-Earth object using the Tycho software. In fact, this is probably the very first discovery of a near-Earth object by an amateur using the synthetic tracking technique. And so I think that's actually a pretty cool step forward again, we're starting to see these discoveries using synthetic tracking. And that was followed up just a month later with 2020 OG, and then in September we had I-93 discovered 2020 R09, and then finally, as you see now, 2020 UN6 just a few days ago. So again, very exciting to see synthetic tracking being used by amateur astronomers to make these discoveries, and so hopefully we'll continue to see more of these in the near future. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, there is now a new release of the Tycho software. This is version 7.2, and the most notable improvement here is that it dramatically speeds up the compute confidence routine. So this will be up to 20 times faster. You really notice it on those larger data sets that have really large images. So again, it'll be up to 20 times faster. So that's a huge improvement. The next item is that you now have the ability to directly add objects from the known object window. They can be directly added to the track navigator. So in the past, you might have had to click on the object position and stack form from the image viewer, and then right click and say add it to the track navigator, and then do that for each object in the known object window. Now it's much easier, and I'll show that here in the demo here shortly. And then finally, the next key item here, there are a lot of small updates, small changes and improvements in this version, but these are the main key enhancements. So this next one here is that it will inform you when a NeoCP object has received a new designation. So that's kind of a nice feature to have if you're tracking an object on NeoCP and then they moved it off the list, for example. So with that, let's go ahead and take a look at a quick demonstration, and then that will conclude the video. So as I mentioned earlier, the track confidence routine is now much faster, and you'll really notice this improvement with larger images. So I've loaded up a data set comprised of 60 images, each having dimensions 4096 by 4096. So here's what it was like on the old version. So we're going to run compute confidence on this list of tracks, and we'll let it run up to track number 50. So as you can see, we're crawling along at track number 20 now, and so we'll just give it a moment here and see how long it takes to get to track 50. Okay, so now it's finished with that, and let's go ahead and compare that with the new version. Okay, so these are the same images, the same list of tracks. The only difference now is we're doing this with the new version. So let's go ahead and try that out. Compute confidence, and we'll see how long it takes to get to track 50. Well, it's already at track 50. So much faster. And so for those of you, again, that have large data sets to work with, this will be a huge time saver. So the other item I wanted to talk about was that you now have the ability to directly add objects from the known object window to the track navigator. So the way this worked in the past was you would click on an item and then you would double click on it in the image viewer to center it, and then you would right click and then say create track from current position, and this would add it to the track navigator so that you could then proceed to create measurements and so forth. Well, now it's a lot easier. If you wanted to, you can in fact select all the items in the list and then say add to track navigator. So it's very easy to use now, and you can now simply go through each item in the track navigator that have been pulled in from known object window, and you can then create measurements this way. So you can just simply go through that list and work through it, and so as you can see, you would very easily create observations of each of these known objects. Now, of course, you can also compute confidence, and so you can see that it has very high confidence in these objects here. Has no confidence in this one, and that's because it's a very faint object. So PN30, if we look at that here, PN30 has a magnitude of 24.3. So magnitude 24, that's a very faint object, and it says it's also 40 astronomical units out. So it's a very distant object, very faint, and so as you can see here, it just doesn't show up in the image viewer. So that's why it has no confidence. And so again, that's another useful feature here, is if you compute confidence, that can help you easily identify which objects here might make for good measurements and so forth. So anyway, this is a very easy to use feature now, and you can import those objects much more easily than you could in the previous version. Okay, so this last item that I'll talk about is a convenience feature. It's useful for whenever you are doing follow-up of a NEO confirmation page, a NeoCP object. And so here's an example of an object that was on NeoCP. So here's its designation as it appeared on the NEO confirmation page. So what will happen is that you've acquired some images, again, of one of these objects that's on the NeoCP list, and some time has elapsed, and now the object has been moved off of the NeoCP list. So it's no longer there, it's become a confirmed object. So when it's moved off the list, it now has a new designation, and you can no longer use the old designation to submit your measurements. You have to know what the new designation is. So the way that would work in the past, and you can still do it if you want to, is you would click on this link. This would bring you to the confirmed object page, sometimes referred to as the elsewhere page. And so you can see that different objects that have been confirmed, they'll tell you what the new designation is. So for example, A10 SPFN is now known as 2020 UR6. So you could scan this page and see what the new designation is, or now what you can do is just go ahead and say, I want to pull this object that I'm working with, and this is its designation as it was on NeoCP, and click OK, and then it will go ahead and tell you that now that object is now known as 2020 US6. So it'll go ahead and work with that object even under the old designation for some period of time, 100 days or so, or however long they are on presented on the confirm page. And you can click OK, and it'll continue to show you the observations of this object and downloaded from the confirmed object page. So again, it's another convenience feature. It's nice to have, and it'll help you out if you're not sure what has happened to the designation of that object. So anyway, that's all for this video. So thanks for watching, and see you next time.